Hey Pokemon Masters, Toby here, and it's been a while since we've spoken about the evolutionary tree of life. One of my absolute pride and joy projects here on the channel. I've done Pokemon Epics, and I've done like where all of the Pokemon regions combine together. I've done lots of smaller theories and community projects. And the Tree of Evolution, that is just one of those series that has such a special place in my heart on this channel. I was working on this tree before I had even started the channel on like Adobe Fireworks, which doesn't even exist anymore. Anyway, I'm constantly wrestling with this idea. Whenever a new Pokemon is announced, or a new form, or a Galarian form, or whatever, I'm trying to work out where does it go? How does it link in and tie in with the rest of the Pokemon evolutionary tree? And also, did I get anything wrong? I've literally spoken to biology, experts, professors in the field about this tree. I've spoken with community members, people who know Pokemon, and obviously this tree has been looked at by other Pokemon theorists. We've seen different takes on it, breaking it down into genuses, phylums, and that kind of thing. Lots of people have lots of takes on it, and yeah, I'm not claiming that this is the definitive evolutionary tree of all Pokemon. In fact, I very much doubt that Pokemon has a definitive evolutionary tree, rather just a vague idea of which Pokemon might be related, sometimes referenced in the Pokedex. But I said, no, that's not enough. I want to work out the entire biological structure and history of Pokemon. And that gets kind of difficult when we start talking about ghosts and aliens, and of course the topic of this video, rock Pokemon. Let's take a look. So yes, rock Pokemon, or mineral-bodied Pokemon. When it comes to Pokemon that are like fairies and spirits and ghosts and aliens and rock-bodied Pokemon, I have to get a little bit creative. With dragon Pokemon it's easy. Big lizards, put them in with the other lizards. And with fairy plant-like creatures, you sort of go, oh, well maybe they're related to the plant life of the Pokemon world. I've talked about this stuff in depth on various videos in the playlist, and of course if you want to watch the complete compilation of everything, there's a video on that too, although the compilation doesn't include the Galar region, that is in a separate video that is like right next to it. But mineral Pokemon always have me scratching my head. Where do they go? How do they fit together? And we're primarily talking about Pokemon that embody rock, steel, and ice in some way, but not Regirock, Regice, and Registeel, because legendary Pokemon are legendary Pokemon and their creations are sometimes very different to the creations of other Pokemon. And the reason this topic has even come up for me again is actually, and this is a little bit of a shout out, for those of you who use Discord, or for those of you who don't, you totally should, I've started up a brand new Discord server with a bunch of other Pokemon theorists. It's called Fuji's Lab, and there's little areas where we can talk about different theorizing topics. And of course, this idea, mineral Pokemon, came up in the biology chat recently, but it's not just a Discord server. Also, with the help of my wonderful mods, we've also made our entire YouTube channel that has playlists indexing over 1,000 different Pokemon theories within these categories. And if you have a Pokemon theory, you can go to the Discord, you can submit a theory, we can add it to the index. It's basically just a big resource for Pokemon theorists. I'm very excited about it. Kind of been a little bit of a passion project lately. And yeah, anyway, I'll leave a link to that at the top of the description. You should absolutely check it out. But yeah, mineral Pokemon, I'm just gonna run down the list. Who are we talking about? What constitutes a mineral Pokemon? Well, Golem and its Alolan counterpart, Gigalith, Sudowoodo, that's made of rocks, Lunatone, Solrock, Minior, they obviously all come from space in some way, we'll talk about that. Behem, also from space and has a rock-like body, Duraludon, Metagross, Magnezone, Klinklang, maybe Steelix and Bronzong, and then ice Pokemon like Cryogonal and Avalugg, Vanillux, possibly Glalie Frostlass, and oh, Carbink, I should mention Carbink. And Probopass, I'm sorry, I totally forgot you as well. I also mentioned, and have mentioned in past videos about this, how I think Macargo actually fits into this, because while biologically you might think, well, Macargo is a slug, it's evolves from Slugma, it's a snail, it's got a snail's shell. Actually, it's biologically, it's more like a planet, with an Earth-like crust that is the shell, a hot internal core, and then magma spewing out of it, which forms the rest of its body. It's more like a little celestial being. And in my version of the evolutionary tree, for those of you who are familiar, I put them in with extraterrestrial life. How did I come to that conclusion? Well, we know there are aliens in Pokemon, and we know there are Pokemon that come from alien planets, whether that's legendary Pokemon like Drachia and Deoxys, whether that's seeing Mew at the beginning of the animated series zipping off into space, whether that's Pokemon that have maybe come from the moon like Clefable and Wigglytuff, or Starmie's Pokedex entry suggesting that it might not just be a starfish, and a lot of theories tying it to Deoxys. There's also the Pokemon Sableye, which eats Carbinks, that might be important later, that has gem-like eyes and a gem-like body. And it is based off of an alien, the Hopkinsville Goblin. Is it a ghost? Is it an alien? And actually, amongst the alien Pokemon, and my reason for thinking that this could be an origin point for rock-bodied Pokemon, we have Lunatone, Solrock, Behem, and Minior. And I know Minior lives in the upper atmosphere, not so much actually in space, but come on, the upper atmosphere is the closest you can get to being space without it being space. The ozone layer, where they live and get eaten by Rayquaza. So alien Pokemon have been falling to Earth since the beginning of time, really. We've seen invaders from other worlds coming in the form of the Ultra Beasts, and we see Pokemon crashing down in the form of Deoxys as mutated space viruses. There is certainly life out there in the Pokemon solar system, and it's not just coming down in one day, it's been coming down for a long, long time. Long enough that some of it, like Solrock and Lunatone, you know, might have dropped to Earth, say, thousands of years ago, tens of thousands of years ago, hundreds of thousands of years ago. But those Pokemon have lived and reproduced in Earth's environments for a long, long time, meaning that they no longer look like that. Perhaps they look more like a Geodude or a Roggenrola, which are suggested to be related by way of their Pokedex entries. But the Pokedex entries also talk about how they are kind of formed and born here on Earth. But the word born in the Pokemon franchise is very, very flexible. For example, in the Cinnabar Mansion, we learned that Mew gave birth to Mewtwo, but we know that's not the case. Mew was cloned into Mewtwo. So whether it means born, or hatched, or cloned, or created, it's hard to say. The Pokedex is unreliable at the best of times, and we know from the Let's Go games that Blue actually has started, you know, helping the professor writing the Pokedex entries. So we can use the Pokedex for generals, but maybe not for specifics. And in fact, that's why I disregard Pokemon like Ninetales being a wizard and assume that their origins are just related to other Fox Pokemon. Because it's probably just folklore, although, then again, in those Pokedex entries, it's often referred to as, like, story and not as fact. It is said that this Pokemon was formed when wizards came together to create Ninetales. Whereas with Roggenrola and Geodude, the Pokedex entries are addressed very much as fact. My counter to this, though, is that there are a lot of facts in the Pokedex, like Rhyhorn being able to charge until it falls asleep, and it'll just always do this. And we just, that's just not possible. Like, charge till it falls asleep or dies or hits a wall or something. Like, it's not going to charge through everything. And Rhyhorn's an interesting Pokemon here as well, because it is a rock type with a rock-like skin. And I'm saying skin because that's the way I choose to interpret it. This Pokemon is a Rhino. Evolutionarily speaking, it's close to like Nidoking and Nidoqueen. And it just has a very tough body, a very tough skin. But it might literally just be a whole body of rock, and in which case, is it related to these Pokemon? A new Pokemon of the Galar region, of course, is Colossal, which I've actually kind of previously speculated might be closely related to Rhyperior because they look similar. But when you look at the whole evolutionary line, I'm more tempted to say something like Colossal and Carkol that may be more closely related to like Gigalith and Geodude. This is an absolute minefield. So why have I settled on the idea of space? Well, before we move on to Steel and Ice Pokemon, when we look at just the rock Pokemon, you've got Probopass and Sudowoodo and Gigalith, the two forms of Golem and Carbink, Magcargo, which I keep forgetting to mention, and then the space Pokemon. We've got about 6 rock Pokemon that we have no idea where they came from, and then about 4 that we can confirm that they have origins and ties to space. As well as that, we've got these other gem-cored Pokemon like Sableye and Starmie that, again, have connections to space. Kind of makes it a 6/6 for me. Then, as I mentioned with Magcargo, it is more like a tiny planet, something that's more likely to form in space. And actually, when we look at Sudowoodo, that's gotta be an Earth Pokemon, it looks like a tree. Sure, but maybe the ancestor for Sudowoodo dropped tens of thousands of years ago, and in order to blend in with the environment over time, a successful strategy has been to evolve to look more like a tree. On top of that, Rock and Steel are very closely related types. I mean, and I might be getting my science totally wrong here, but aren't metals in general just hard, like different variants of rocks and earth? Different pressures, different chemicals, but the ores are all found in the same place. And Metagross, as evidenced by its various Pokedex entries, and Beldum being found specifically really in areas where there are meteorites falling down, like in the Alola region, it's an alien Pokemon. And I've already done a video on how incredibly closely related the Metagross line is to the Magnezone line, a Pokemon that looks like a UFO. They're both Steel type, they both have connections to electricity and electromagnetism. Just like Probopass, it seems that at some point in history they've all shared similar kinds of environments and ecosystems, again just like the Sableye and Carbink thing. And suddenly we're left with only a handful of Pokemon here that don't look like they have any connection to space. The Geodude line, the Roggenrola line, and even then, for all we know, the common ancestor of a Lunatone, a Geodude, and a Roggenrola may have landed on the Earth 1,000,000 years ago, and Geodude, I think it's reasonable to assume, is just the offshoot of that. In fact, there is some debate, again, it depends on how speculative you are with the Pokedex, and how accurate we think of that as a source. There is debate as to whether it's the Alolan Geodude that came first or the regular Geodude, because there are a lot of regional variants where, again, the regional variant came first. I've done a video on that too with Atrium that was a lot of fun. And again, Alolan Geodude, Golem, it's got a massive magnet on its back, again, tying it in with these Pokemon like Magnezone. You can actually see Magnezone flying around in the night sky in the same area where you can find Alolan Geodude in Alola. What if that is the original version of the Pokemon and then just regular Geodude everywhere else evolved to be more adapted to the Earth-like environment that they find themselves in? Because a rock that doesn't have a giant magnet attached to it blends in well better in caves. Though, then again, some people believe that the Golem line specifically is a reptile because it has reptilian-like features. This is a weird thing to do with the fact that it's a trade evolution, as is like Machamp, and Graveler gives the Machoke line twice as many arms, and the Machoke line gives the Golem line like a lizard-like face, so it's really hard to say. Maybe Golem's supposed to be a giant tortoise. You know, this is complete speculation here. And when it comes to other Steel-type Pokemon, you know, does Klinklang have ties to space? What about Duraludon? Duraludon and Gigalith do look quite alike, perhaps they are relatives. And what about Steelix? Is Steelix a snake or a Pokemon more like Metagross? That's evolved to look like a snake and evolved those kind of features after descending to Earth. Is Steelix like Rhyhorn? And yeah, what about Colossal? We've also got Ice Pokemon to then contend with. Because some Ice Pokemon Pokedex entries talk about particles in the air forming these Pokemon and them coming to life from pretty much nothing. We know in the Pokemon world infinity energy flows everywhere, and infinity energy is the life force of Pokemon. So is that what's going on here? Do Ice Pokemon belong here on the evolutionary tree? Why am I asking and not giving you answers? The reason being is that I'm not going to be releasing a new version of the evolutionary tree poster this year. I thought at the beginning of the year, oh great, new DLCs, new Pokemon, but all we have is new forms of Slowbro and Slowking and a couple of legends that don't even really fit on the tree. As I've depicted them in the last version of the tree, they're just celestial kind of formations because their origins are so obscure. I'm asking because this is one of the areas of the tree I'm most interested in, and I want to dig to the bottom of which Pokemon do you think might have come from space and which ones don't? Do you think the idea that any of them have come from space is completely unreasonable? Please let me know in the comments, or better yet, head on over to the Discord server. By the way, speaking of the merch store, with the poster, and I have like Team Snooze onesies over there. It's a very comfy time. I've been wearing mine recently. I've got some new merch going up next month, and there's going to be a big sale, so if you want to buy anything, basically just wait, because there's going to be a sale next month. And like I say with the evolutionary tree poster, I'm not going to be printing a new version this year. I'll probably wait until the end of the generation, or maybe even the beginning of next generation. There are other areas of the tree I also want to investigate. I mean, it's Halloween next month, and those ghost Pokemon are pretty tricky too. But I'll leave that for later. Thank you all so much for just engaging with the channel in any way, supporting this video. Thank you, and of course, soar high Pokemon Masters.
This is Ash Ketchum. You just watched a video by Birdkeeper Toby. That makes you a Pokemon Master. Master!
A special shout out to those of you supporting this channel on Patreon, including the big patron of the month, Lemon Baby. Thank you, everyone.